I am here. I'm on Facebook Live now, so.
All right, there you go. And I think, yes, there it is, the beautiful blonde hair flowing and the pink dress. Right.
Yeah, you're colorblind. I'm glad they didn't let you in planes.
Hey, before we get into your excellent report here, military brass versus suit, I just want to comment, you had a very busy weekend. Man, you were at the Army-Navy game, you were at the Washington Redskins game. My goodness, lady.
It was a bit of a football weekend, I guess, and I think I sadly have to say that the Navy lost, which was a shocker. And I was actually rooting for Navy. If everybody saw my posts on Facebook and Twitter and all that, they'll see I was kind of sitting on the Navy side, but they couldn't pull it out in the end. So.
And I'm a Navy guy.
I know.
Yeah, and then the Redskins, who was it, New York?
That was an embarrassing game. I felt badly for all the Redskin fans.
You got to give credit to the Redskins. Boy, they had a great tribute, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And actually, the sad thing is about that is I got a few responses back from that were just completely negative, saying that he caused millions of people to die and he's a dictator. I sat there missing or thinking, well, I don't quite, agree with that. But there were some actually I had some nasty retweets and messages on that, which kind of shocked me because usually football events, people are, they're pretty, pro-American flag and what the country stands for and all that. We didn't see anybody kneeling. I was there for the entire game. There was no kneeling, which was nice to see that they all stood up for the flag and stood for the United States of America and just wanted to play football. Unfortunately, the Redskins didn't really play too much football.
Maybe they could have been kneeling.
Let's not go back there because they'll do that.
Today we don't have the best connection that's possible, but I'm going to let you kind of run with this. We've got a couple of minutes before the break. Military brass versus the suit. And whenever Trump went into office, I guess the worst thing in the world is following somebody like President Obama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talk about little tiny shoes to fill. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I think, that President Trump is really now just starting to find his way in how government runs and how the bureaucracy operates here in Washington, D.C. I think the very first year he obviously wanted to talk about, rebuilding the military because it had been under such disrepair for the prior 8 years. So, and that, and he campaigned on that. So that was expected. But now that we're getting ready to enter his third year in office, you're seeing some movement in cabinet positions, and you're also seeing him being a lot more open about streamlining the military and actually getting people together to actually put together a mission statement or an end game. What's it going to take for America to go to war, and how do we, what do we have to do to make sure that we can protect our country, not build things we don't need. And he wants to, I think that, we saw this with Kelly, but Kelly might be around just in another department. I'm still not certain that he'll be gone.
I know that I saw it today, and I don't even have the story in front of me, but that Kelly says he's going to retire at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, well, he'll work through the end of the year, and that's what he promised. He said he'd work with the Trump administration through the end of the year, and he's doing that. I've heard a few rumors, but that's pure speculation that he's going to stay working in some capacity for the president, whether it be at the Pentagon or outside somewhere that the country needs. So, like I said, I don't think we've heard the last of Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, well, when you say I've heard a few rumors, most of your rumors are pretty high up there.
I tend to, I have some good sources.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're everywhere all the time. My goodness.
Have to be.
Have time to even file these reports.
Yeah.
We are going to take a break, and I want to remind the listeners that you need to go to CRNReport.com and keep up with Kelly. And if you're interested, go right now to Facebook, all right? Because she's on Facebook streaming live, and that would be, Kimberly, Dvorak, Facebook.com, I think.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah. It's so easy. We're going to be right back. CRN Wilder with my guest Kimberly
Maybe they'll like me.
It's envy. It's envy. I know what it is.
There you go.
Speaking of, whenever you take over an office and you have to pick up from a former guy, you say there's always threats to United States national security. No essential military threats. America's border poised to drive a dagger into America's heartland, and that immediately brings attention the caravan, right?
Yeah.
And this Democratic lady that went across the border, she went over there and she brought back somehow the other, they just snuck in five people, right? One little child and four semi-adults or whatever.
Yeah.
And when she was making these statements, Kimberly, I want to get your opinion on this. She was saying, this whole thing about asylum, coming here to seek asylum and all that, Trump made that all up, and that's not why they're here. She goes over and then she makes an announcement. Well, I have managed to give these five asylum.
Yeah. Woo! Powerful stuff. And I think in the real world, Chuck, the law enforcement would look at that and call it aiding and abetting. That's what they would, the legal term. I think perhaps she missed the mark on that, but that is aiding and abetting. And it's,
I would love to see the headline: child endangerment laws are going to go in effect immediately.
Yeah. It's the immigration issue, and it seems like we're talking about this every week. There's just so much going on down there. It's just people need to remember that, we have an orderly, immigration system in this country. And what we're seeing is these people, and we're seeing even now in the San Diego border sector, people hopping the fence and getting by Border Patrol. And obviously that's completely illegal to do, but there's not enough agents down there to actually stop the illegals from coming across the border. And it's absolutely absurd that they think they're going to be rewarded with some form of amnesty or political asylum. The president's right to be upset on this. I think a lot of American people are upset with this. When they see what's happening, and you look down the border and you see what's going on, it's chaos down there. And you hear people that are openly talking, to TV crews that I deserve to be in America. Well, you know what? Mexico offered them asylum. That's where they need to.
Deserve and wish. There's a few more letters in deserve. You're stretching it a little bit. That's pretty clever, John. Thank you. Hey, I'll tell you, Kimberly, one reason I brought up the caravan, and it is mentioned in your order here, about America's heartland. But I noticed that one of our people that are tuned in on Facebook with you, Raymond Herrera, he's been in this for a long, long time. Frequent guest on this show. He was with Jim Gilchrist when they formed the Minutemen. Remember that?
Yep.
And also We the People, and the guys up on it on immigration, and we're glad that he's tuned in with us.
Oh yeah. No, that brings you're aging us. I'm not certain that that's a good thing.
Getting back to this article you wrote, you say instead of devising strategy to preserve the status quo, the nation's military leaders should adopt President Eisenhower's prescription for national defense. Want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that in Ike's farewell speech, he warned about the military-industrial complex taking over, the U.S. economy, forging battles across the globe, which have happened after Eisenhower left office. And he warned that, the private sector could actually get themselves into a position where they really have they're a dominant factor within the economy in everyday life for a lot of Americans. And he warned that could be, detrimental to America's health. We know that in Rome, even Rome fell. The people forgot that, there are people that are, going to eventually be fed up with it. And I think that, it's a good example to look at Rome. But when you look at this issue, President Trump is a builder. And I think in some of the working groups that I'm, working with on some of these very issues, everybody's like, well, if you say you're going to, trim back the military, they just automatically think that, okay, well, that's going to mean X number of jobs are lost in my state because the defense contracting business is located in 26 strategic states for a reason. And, and we all, want a safe America. We all want a strong military. but I think a lot of us are coming to the consensus that it's about time that maybe we start retooling what we're doing as well. We're not going to be fighting wars like Normandy. We're not sending tens of thousands of people to jump off a ship and go run up the shores. Those days are gone. We don't need a whole bunch of manned aircraft because now we have drones that can do this job. And I think that what was so successful after World War II was that the manufacturing plants and whatnot that were building bombs and bullets retooled to rebuild this country. So I think a lot of us are saying, not necessarily that, we need to take that, $7.2 trillion that we've spent over the last several years, probably almost 2 decades now. That money could have been used to build infrastructure in this country. We could have mass transit across the entire United States. And we could have the best airports, roads, more, environmentally friendly cars if that's what your gig is. But essentially, if you tell the military that their plan is just going to change a little bit, and the Army Corps of Engineers, you're going to go down and you're going to build a border wall. And then you're going to go to the northern border, you're going to build one there. And then we're just going to slowly retool this so we can actually rebuild our country. And when you look at it from that angle, Democrats are okay. Like, wait a minute. We want to spend on infrastructure. And then defense contractors go, okay, well, we're not going to be out of the loop, so we're going to still be making money, just doing something different. So that's kind of where we're thinking, and that's what we're thinking about here.
Boy, you got me here with about 5 different comments. Number one, all right, talking about infrastructure and the roads and all this stuff. I saw the weekend where apparently people are getting wise to this high-speed train.
Yeah, gotcha.
And all that. And we've been saying forever it's over budget, it's not going to work. But congratulations, Mr. Feinstein, for getting that contract, all right?
Oh, yeah.
The other thing, way back when you were talking about Rome, all right?
Yeah.
And when the Roman Empire expired or fell or whatever.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how we haven't reached that status quite?
No.
But look at all of the social standards in America and the leniency here and the leniency there. And right now, I don't think we have those special houses where everybody just flocks together and does whatever they want to.
Yeah.
And that Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and I think too. I mean, not only in America are we seeing this change, but we're seeing in Italy over the weekend, 50,000 people went out and protested and said that we're going to start going back to the roots of Italy first. You saw the new president elected down in Brazil first. So the president, gets a lot of criticism here by the media in the United States, but he in essence has started a populist movement that is continuing to domino around the world. And as we are able to be connected via phone lines and Bluetooth and internet and all of these different devices and technology that we have access to today, there just isn't a need for this, global dominance. And I think that, it's about, we're 22 trillion in debt here in the United States. It's about time that we stop spending it in the Middle East, and we need to work with our allies and say, look, if you guys want to be protected and you don't want to have a military, then if you want, you can, in essence, we'll go and protect you, but you got to pay for it. So we've been the world's patsy over the last, really since Ike left office. I would go back that far and say the world has really been the patsy and the dominant person that's leading all of these, wars. And it's not working out anymore. And I think everybody's slowly starting to come to that conclusion. And we over the weekend also saw Mattis come out, the DOD's Mattis. He came out and said, what, we got to figure out how to get to Afghanistan. It's done. It's over. We got to go. So when you start seeing generals making those decisions, then things are afoot, and they're looking at something inside the Pentagon that we don't all have all the answers to, but I guarantee you Trump's working on them with that.
And 2 things about Trump real quick. Number one is that as a president, he tells the United Nations, you got to pay your part, and that upsets a lot of people. And then number 2 is everything they've been raising hell, all right, in Paris.
Yeah.
And it all has to do with global warming. Now, the mainstream media wants to kind of play that down, but that's the reason they raised the gas tax.
Yeah.
They had to pay for their global warming, and all of a sudden the people said, I think we've had enough of this phony hope.
Well, there is, and the thing is here, in California, I happen to be in DC right now, but in California, I mean, you got a lot of people that are saying we need to make sure that we have a small carbon footprint, and we need to charge taxes and carbon tax and you name it. The thing is, and my son had to write a college paper last week, and they basically are just telling these kids the world's going to end in like 5 years if we don't do this. And my question and my notes back to my son was, ask your teacher these two questions. Can the United States, and California in particular, can they control the wind that goes from east to west? We go from China through Guam over Hawaii. Can we stop that? And of course we can't. Okay, what about the oceans? Can we stop those swells from going one way to the other? No, we can't. So whatever we do on our side is not going to have any effect on America, because you're going to see what the Chinese are doing. You're going to see what other countries around the world that continue to not buy into this, climate change. I mean, it's global warming, this global cooling, and I think they've settled on the climate change. Yeah. But this is what they're teaching our kids in college. 5 years, that's it. It's going to be done. And that's hysteria speaking. And, I would really like to find out where the professors are getting this content to teach kids in college. That basically, if we do nothing, there will be no planet in 5 to 10 years. It'll just be gone. I mean,
they keep saying it. They keep saying it on and on and on. But I'll tell you an interesting thing is, you talk when you said the ocean waves.
Yeah.
Remember that nuclear disaster they had in Japan?
Yeah.
That radiation, I guess about 3 or 4 years ago, finally reached the west coast of the United States. And they're not making a big deal out of it, but you see, it's not global warming. It's other things.
Well, if they made a big deal about it, Chuck, then they'd have to admit that we really don't have control of the ocean currents, and we don't have control over the weather. I mean, and that's when if I see a hurricane, or I see wildfires, or I see, hot year as far as summer in the Mojave Desert, I call that weather. I grew up in Northern California. We had weather all the time. And, in the end, it all works out. Eventually, Americans are going to come up with the best technology, and we probably will go to some form of electric or alternative powered vehicles. We're not there yet. So until the market demands it, until we can all afford it, it just needs to be in the trial and error phase. And this is the stuff that, I talk a little bit about in this article, is that we're wasting our money on a lot of this. And we ought to be thinking about rebuilding that money. And if we took a portion of that $7.2 trillion that's been spent in the Middle East, and we say took $2 trillion and spent it here in this country, you're going to get $8 or $9 for every dollar you spend. You're going to get $8 or $9 in return into the economy, because those people that are working are going to go to lunch, they're going to go to the grocery store, they're going to buy some new shoes for their job, whatever it is. So that money needs to be spent here in this country and rebuild our country, and then it would be a lot easier to pay down that debt.
And if the listeners want to read your article, can they go to the kdreport.com? Is it posted there?
I have not posted it yet, so you're getting an exclusive. It'll be up tomorrow. It'll be up tomorrow.
Yeah. I was.
And I'll post it on Facebook as well, so they can just look up on Facebook, and it'll be up there.
That's where I was over the weekend, looking on Facebook, and I saw your activity, and I said, "My goodness, this lady's going everywhere." It's, she must be the queen of DC. But anyway, and during that posting, I said, "No, this can't be right, because you couldn't be on the beach in Washington D.C. with 20 degrees weather." So, was it your daughter's birthday over the weekend?
Yeah. Well, she's born on a very important day. She was born on Pearl Harbor Day. So usually that was a picture. We went to the beach last summer and we took a picture, and she's obviously finished with college and all that stuff now. But she was born on Pearl Harbor Day, and that's why I tweeted it out, because we celebrated. I've taken her to Pearl Harbor. We've been there twice. And, always remember, and I told her she has a lot of burden on that shoulder because of all of that weight for what happened on Pearl Harbor. She's got to carry that, and she's got to honor all that. in everyday life. So she's she sometimes gives me a hard time about it. I'm like, you have a purpose.
My age, Kimberly, the first time I went to Pearl Harbor in the Navy, they were getting ready to build the monument, to Pearl. And then I think the last year I was in the Navy, it had been completed. And I had the opportunity to end up there for like 4 months at a time, one time there. So
it's beautiful, and it's stunning to see what happened there. And I think this and I think as we look at this issue moving forward, I'm looking at, this is why we need to be prepared for future wars, not the past wars. Because the majority of a lot of the generals, they're building their troops and looking at their war plans through a lens of what's happened in the past. And they're not thinking about what's going on in the future.
That was the bell. It's time to take a break.
Wow, okay, perfect.
I'll be right back. Perfect timing. All right. And it's funny, when you go to Hawaii, the first time you're there, normally, especially if you've been in the military, the first thing you do is look at the mountains where the planes came over.
You do. It's an amazing, beautiful place.
We're going to be right back. More from Kimberly Dvorak. Don't go away. Kimberly Dvorak, One American News Network, CW6 News, San Diego, everywhere. She's everywhere. And an excellent article, and look for it posting. It'll be up on Facebook, she said, just a little bit later on, and it'll also be at ckdreport.com. And some great takeaways. You're saying we just eliminate wasteful business, redundant overhead, support the structures.
Yeah, I think as we kind of start opening the discussion in January, we're going to be operating with a split government, and so they're going to actually have to roll their sleeves up and work together. And I think what Mr. Trump's going to start doing, or President Trump's going to be doing, is he's going to be looking to mitigate and do damage control when it comes to these military actions that we've been involved with over the last 20 years or so. He's already doing so by getting away from the nation-building status of the past and the counterinsurgency, which was General Petraeus's baby, which has proved to be an utter and complete failure when it comes to nation-building and giving countries democracy that do not want democracy. But the United States is going to have to, the military is going to have to reshape and retool to figure out how they're going to fight wars moving forward. And these wars, we've talked about them on several different shows. We're talking about the EMP threats. We're talking about possible drone strikes. We're talking about possible, having, some sort of plane or drone or other, type of thing where it, drops fentanyl over a mass, and we have mass casualties at an event, say a football game or something like that. And then we're going to, the military is going to have to step up and actually prepare for those types of wars and realize that we don't need a whole bunch of these light infantry people. We've really been focusing the last couple of years really on our special operations guys. So perhaps beefing up that round and paring back. And a lot of the generals and admirals that I've been talking with, which is surprising to me, but they have all said that they can cut the force. The United States does not need this size of a military, and we definitely don't need all of this brand new equipment that Congress wants to spend in the United States, and that the military needs to step up and say, okay, you know what, no, this is what we're doing moving forward, and here's our plan. And I think that Trump would really, this is what he's born to do. He negotiates. He can say where this money's going to go. He can build the roads. He can build an aqueduct, and it can all be named Trump. I don't think anybody really has a problem with it. But what he's good at is organizing people, building something, and seeing it to its conclusion. And I think that if he exerts that kind of will inside the Pentagon, which there are indications that we actually are going to start seeing more of that this coming year, then I think it was a win-win for this country, because we love our country, we love our military, but we also love an efficient military, and we also are cognizant that we're $22 trillion in debt. We can't keep this up.
And if you hear guests on, like especially on Fox, that will come on and they have time enough to talk about President Trump's book, I think his last one was The Art of the Deal or something. You find out, boy, this guy, he knows what he's doing, because, China, you're gonna upset China. North Korea's gonna launch a missile on it. The guy knows what he's doing, and if you don't like his hair and you don't like the way he
one thing. But this is the job that he was elected to do, and I think this is a part of the job that he'll be a success at.
Yeah. And on that, Kimberly, we have come to a conclusion. And by the way, as I mentioned before, all those ladies that were hollering about Kavanaugh, yeah, guess what? You were wrong. You were wrong. Boy, I appreciate each and every.
All righty. Have a good week out there.